Okay, so we're back, day 2. Simpler setup. I just went with the phone this time. I completely messed up the setup yesterday, so apologies on my behalf. We're all off camera and everything. So anyway, content is what's important. Today we're talking about devs on stage. Absolutely. So first impressions, what do you think?
Yeah, it was intense, right?
Yeah,
like
I think so.
I think so. It was a different setup this year.
Yeah.
So Matt Miller wasn't hosting; it was giving back to the devs, which I think was great because again, giving more face time to fantastic project managers, developers, people that are working on the product.
Absolutely.
Give the show to them. Obviously, got the pantomime theme, dad jokes galore, like everything passed. Super.
Good dog puns all the way through.
Storytelling was on point.
It was good.
I think, what do we see? So we had half an hour of devs on stage, and then half an hour of a new thing, which was devs on stage labs.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Do you want to explain what that was?
Yeah, so Devs on Stage is, if you're not sort of familiar with the keynotes, Devs on Stage is where Tableau developers who actually build the product show the capability. Devs on Stage Labs is the same thing, but what they were doing is showing us very early builds and asking us to sort of vote on direction. And so what they did is they brought 3 very different ideas and they asked us to sort of show our sentiment. Matt Miller made a point of saying that these weren't pledges to build these things. They're very much just, hey, if we built this, what would your vibe be? And I think it was a nice
and no promises,
touch because I think we finished Devs on Stage thinking, oh, this is going to be it. And then they sort of did a one more thing kind of thing at the end.
Yeah,
and
but I think
worked nicely.
I think it worked really well because you had half an hour of like quick fire feature, one after the other. The thing I liked about Devs on Stage Labs, I think Alteryx have done something similar previously. I think the really interesting thing that I like about it is it reminded me of what used to be called Octo that Tableau had, the office of the CTO, who worked on like moonshot projects that were like, let's just see how far we can get with this and see what is there something here. And I think a lot of the things we saw came from small things like hackathons that Tableau do internally. And I think servicing that great work is really important.
It's super good. I think it was just a nice sort of homage because with Devs on Stage it was now separate again. I don't think it was last year. It was at the end of the keynote.
Part of the keynote.
We got more time, I think, to talk about Tableau core products. There's a bit of Tableau Next in there. We looked at the Semantics connector and a few other bits, but broadly speaking, this was 90% core, 10% sort of, let's say, the next product. But what I did think was nice is that they infused a lot of AI capability with core, which was very much I think it was like a subtle message to say, look, AI will change your workflow regardless of whether you love Next or not. Let's just soften you up with a bit of this.
Exactly. I think the theme that you've got from almost the dismissal, the almost negativity surrounding a lot of the Tableau messaging and things like this over the last year has been like, why should I care about agents? Why is everything agents focused? And I think today, with a lot of the features, it's like, and this is why you should care about agents. This is why the role of the analyst is changing, and like, the jobs we do are changing, everything's transforming. And I think this dovetailed for me really nicely with the keynote.
I saw a post from a Tableau, the owner of a Tableau partner, I won't name them, and they made a post by saying, look, I know AI is great, but look, I can still do analysis really, really quickly. But the type of analysis that was being done, I genuinely think a lot of people don't arrive at that same analysis quickly. And I kind of felt like it missed the point. Yes,
it's a very privileged position.
Not even just privileged. Yes, you could do the same analysis, but I think fundamentally, you're not getting it. You're not doing the kind of analysis you should be asking AI to do. The kind of analysis you should be asking AI to do is the analysis you don't have time to go and do. So go down 20 paths, exactly, and see what comes back. Do it for me. So the reasoning capability they showed was really nice. It went off, did a bunch of analysis for you, gave you some clues, but still left you with the agency to take action on where you think the story should go.
And this is why humans will have to be part of that process, right? Like, I think the one fly in the ointment is like AI and everything that's agent focused assumes that people are critical thinkers, and they're not.
They're not.
We live in a second best world where like people aren't as smart as we think they are. So there will be a lot of mistakes made. So therefore, AI and agents have to have guardrails set up by knowledge curators, subject matter experts. All of those sweet things.
Exactly. Right. That's
get into
a high level view. There's a lot to cover. So what we'll probably do, I'll try and cut
whammy.
cut some slides from the real thing into this video. So I've got the list here on my iPad. So first of all, we had the first group of presentations. So we had Prep in DB. Prep in DB. Pretty nice.
In DB joins. Yeah.
Shots keep getting fired at Alteryx. I'm telling you.
Rest in peace.
And the funny thing is Prep started in the cloud, right? It's got a cloud capability first. So I always wonder, will Prep get to where Alteryx desktop is now faster than Alteryx can take Alteryx to the cloud? I think so at this rate.
At this rate, yeah.
Then we had custom Python scripts. Now this is a subtle one.
Running in Tableau Cloud.
Running in Tableau's cloud, which means Tableau themselves are hosting the scripts, you feed them. That's an interesting one because I think that's going to use consumption.
It's consumption, but also like it's considering like any packages, will they need to be double entered, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then the other thing was Prep output to Google Drive. So being able just to export a data source right to Google Drive and being able to work with it. I think that's a really nice touch. It speaks to the continued sort of connectivity of Prep. I think it really speaks to what I would call like the data prepper rather than like the data engineer. It's a very different.
But also the hobbyist.
Yeah,
it's the hobbyist, right? Like someone who wants to push to Google Sheets as a hobby, but if you can pull Prep and push. That works well as well.
Exactly. Okay. Then we have the Tableau Semantics Connector. Now this is sort of important, and I don't think it should be on Devs on Stage because I think it's almost necessary for the platform to succeed. Yeah. So this allows you to essentially connect to, wait a minute, Tableau Semantics Connector. Gosh, I'm getting confused here. So is this a connector?
It's connecting to the semantic layer on your Tableau Next platform.
Right, so okay, thank you.
There we go.
I got so confused for a minute there. It's a Tableau desktop connector that connects to the semantic level in
and you can make changes in desktop into that model and
exactly. Then we had viewport parameters.
Viewport parameters
very
is
good.
that was my hire. That was my fire emoji, right?
Someone's going to use the map layers with make it like a visualization zooming functionality.
Exactly.
I can't wait for someone to build that.
But I think so. In my world, that's going to be amazing, right? We use XY coordinates for so many things. It's going to be so good. So
from
good.
a sports perspective, definitely. Analytical page extensions.
Another fire emoji.
This is subtle, so I'll explain this. Analytical page extensions are the tab that you don't often go to called Analysis next to the data pane. If you go in there, there's sort of analytics capabilities like median, mode, box and whisker. At the very bottom of that pane is analytical extension. And so here, they showed us a couple of good examples. For example, the traveling salesman as an example, or being able to draw contours on the map.
Contours.
Very nice. So really good setup.
For me, this is like Tableau do this fun thing, right, where they create this feature, the community breaks it and does whatever they want with it, and then they build a better feature of that, right? So set actions then was followed by parameter actions, because everything you're breaking set action for, you now do a parameter action because it's better, easier, faster.
We just kicked them away.
That's right.
Someone just moved away from us because we're recording a video. Apologies.
It's all good. It's all good.
Right.
But this is a great example of people who use map layers now should be able to code their own analytical
page extensions.
Pane extensions. APE, the apes. The apes. Right. So if you want to create an ape, you drag the ape in instead of the map layer. I think again, the community's going to break this. You're going to find some great things. Again, my fly in the ointment, it's going to be paywalled. You're going to get so many things that get paywalled.
Of course. So part of either Plus, or it might just be data management.
It would be the marketplace. It would, I'm saying the
actual extensions
will be on a marketplace behind a paywall.
But I think Tableau themselves will add more. What they did with the Viz extension is they used it as a vehicle to add stuff that they were going to build, as well as the community. So I think Tableau themselves have built this so they can enable maybe 2 or 3 extensions they want to build. But they're relying on the community to do the heavy lifting.
My 2 favorite things about extensions in general is that they auto-update. And they backward compatible.
Correct.
Like across version. If you can do an extension, you don't need the latest and greatest. Like so,
it's so it'll work for 24.2 onwards. Which is good. All right.
Cool. That was Dev 1.
That was Dev 1. Then we went to Dev 2, Ginger. A bit of a chocolate
theme,
factory Willy Wonka kind of theme to it. So we start with Tableau Pulse descriptions. I've called this. I'm not sure I've got
Pulse
that name.
powered by LLM.
It's basically
powered
by LLM. What is that? You explain it to me.
Yeah, sure. So if you've got Tableau Pulse, again, we talked about this yesterday after the keynote. It's basically for a very specific user. The LLM part is extending that user to have a conversation with your data, which is actually, in reality, what Ask Data would have been, right?
Yeah.
So it's solving that problem, but it's like investigating your data and adding that reasoning and having that conversational pulse, advanced Q&A. Yeah. That's what it is, right? Which is cool.
It's good.
Cool.
It's a natural next step. And I think the thing about Pulse is it feels like a mature product already, but I think it still has a lot to go because it's so focused. I think you have to be very tasteful about what you add. Yeah. I think this is a good touch. Then we had Instant Viz and Tableau.
Viz First Show Me.
Yeah, Viz First Show Me. So this is very different. So in Show Me today, you see the charts, but what it typically asks you to do is to select a dimension and measure.
You have to start
first before it will show you what to build. This time around, this is different, where Show Me shows you the chart, and then it's able to look at the data source and suggest the measures that it's going to use to build the chart. So demo, they showed a bubble chart, needed 4 things. It went and picked those 4 things from the data source and built the chart.
Now, it's going to be wrong a lot.
Yeah,
unless and until you start having something like Tableau next to the middle, where you've got all your workspaces, you've got your canvas, and it's learning what most people build first.
Exactly.
In Austin 2016, Francois showed a very similar recommendations thing. Then and I think most Tableau services still have the recommenders built in.
Yeah.
That almost started there. We're now almost 10 years later, and we've actually got the feature that he's talking about.
Exactly.
It's not live, but we're a lot closer because of AI.
Much closer. Good.
This was the first crowd pleaser.
This was color palette themes. I love the demo for this. It's very succinct.
Yeah, it was click it,
select
drop
it, choose it, drop it. It was like a very Daft Punk.
Exactly. So good. Yeah.
It was very good. But this is a long-standing feature. I will make a point at the end of this video about Salesforce delivering on stuff that people have been asking for a long time. I think people critique them a lot for not doing that, and yet I can't watch devs on stage and actually support that opinion.
Ever.
But nevertheless, let's keep going. Color palettes and themes, very simple.
Yeah, so the hack previously, you have to go into the preferences pane and change all of this stuff.
That was literally the documented approach, right?
The documented approach, and now you can just do it yourself.
Not only that, you can ask an LLM to generate a color palette for you in that pane. Of course, that comes with Tableau Plus, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, being able to create it, save them, style it, and apply it.
Yeah.
I fell into that trap myself. I think with an interface, super powerful.
Yeah.
Okay. Next one, dynamic color range. This is Project Patch Bay. We've seen this before.
Patch Bay. This is like a shout out to Filipos.
Yes, Filipos. He's no longer at Salesforce for the record. So I think about 3 years ago, we saw a preview of a framework that allowed for this kind of capability.
Maybe further back?
Yeah.
Maybe at your last conference.
Yeah.
I think it was your last conference we talked about this.
And it also linked to the viewport parameters, because the thing about the viewport parameters is you needed a mechanism for essentially the different sheets to talk to each other, and Patch Bay was eventually a framework to enable this to happen. And so we've seen it in the viewport.
It's data-driven everything.
Exactly, and now we're seeing the dynamic color range in the same context. So basically, it's dynamically changing that sort of legend to contextualize based on the metrics that are available. So I think we'll see more things like this, the build off Patch Bay.
Yeah, I think the really interesting thing to say here is it's dynamic color radius based on powered by parameters.
Yes.
Right, so like basically it's creating a parameterized range, but it's paid from the selection you've made.
Yeah. But what I hope is you don't have to go and create these parameters yourself. That would be a very Tableau thing to do, but it'd be good.
But you probably will.
Yeah, I know. It's a little bit of like annoying UX, but I think it should be more natural. Okay, server and cloud accessible navigation and actions. Very good. So
hear and understand your data.
Oh, there we go. So this is the voiceover capability, being able to go into a chart, click a data point, and then not only just see the tooltip, but it will narrate the tooltip as well. Very, very good. And the other half of this was being able to navigate a viz entirely using the keyboard, no mouse involved, so going across, using tabs up and down, all that. Really
I really like this because when you're doing demos, yes, for absolute accessibility, but even for people that don't require accessibility,
well, I think everyone needs accessibility of some sort to make things better, right?
But it's a really clean way of visualizing. Like if you're telling a story with the keyboard, like it's like you got a lot of nice symmetry. Everything's working quite nice. Like it just is a bit smoother, a bit quicker, and a bit richer. I really like that.
Rounded corners. This got bigger cheers. It's kind of like I feel like we're in like 1995 when rounded corners have just arrived.
Yeah.
Tableau has arrived 20 years later.
So I mentioned this yesterday, right? I was saying like if everyone wants to, like, you know, spell check around the corners, spell check around the corners. But honestly, like rounded corners is great.
Yeah.
It will be used. I think the really cool part of this actually is you can now set the radius of the rounded corners to create a circle.
Yeah.
Now that's cool because if in my world, if you then have loads of shapes, you can just like spotlight the middle. Yeah. So good.
You could do circular maps.
Circular maps.
Yeah, yeah. And that little viewport parameter, circular maps. Zoom in. Yeah.
Look at that.
The big chart, the big thing on the bottom, and then the
little
main
chart is the context. You can get a GTA map in the corner.
Oh, love it. Who's going to build a GTA Viz? Right, okay.
Dev 3,
Patrick. SCIM. I don't know, no idea what the acronym means. By the time I make a video about this, I will know it.
Yeah.
But what I understand of the feature, do you know what the acronym is?
No. Identity management.
So don't trust us for the acronym.
Something identity management.
Essentially, what this allows you to do is previously when you added users to Tableau Server or Tableau Cloud, you used to have to go and add them manually one at a time. With this, what's actually happening is when you add them to your identity provider, they're automatically brought in. So essentially, you can use something like Okta or I think, what's the one on Windows? Windows Active Directory to manage your groups, and then Tableau through SCIM will just automatically go and update those groups and get them working.
SCIM stands for System for Cross-Domain Identity Management.
Oh, wow.
There we go.
Cross-domain, that's a great name.
Yeah, cross-domain identity. Does what it says on the tin.
All right, yep.
Then super useful.
The next crowd pleaser, recycle bin. This is actually already in 25.1, but has not been pushed out to public yet. So it was supposed to make the feature drop for 25.1. It was in the release, but is not yet available anyway. So they did get away with a free hit at this conference because they got to say, hey, this is coming. Yeah, it's coming like in 2 weeks.
But again, it was contextualized by it's on the Ideas Exchange. We listened, we built, here it is.
Yeah. Again, these are very simple features. These are not, we shouldn't be really celebrating these hard, but they're here and they've finally been delivered.
I mean, I've never deleted a Viz.
I need to revise. I just keep pushing stuff to an archive because the delete doesn't exist. Now, the thing is, I think a lot of young people, young users, new developers, I say that in a very respectful way. I've seen developers who are starting the last 5 years.
I'm laughing at young developers.
They delete content because they expect a recycle bin.
Yeah.
And it makes sense. You've never had to think about that. So don't delete stuff on Tableau unless you have this feature. Yeah. And more importantly, make sure you upgrade to this version before you go deleting content.
Weekly backups. Take daily backups.
Oh, God. All right, DBT Connector. I think this has been announced before. Oh, what did I miss?
Activity log in Tableau Server.
Oh, activity log. I did miss one. Wow, there we go. Let me add it to my list. Activity log
in Tableau Server.
Criminal.
I'm super excited by. So we were talking to a director yesterday, going through some future Tableau stuff. The really fun part here is I mentioned this, and he was like, it was a strange reaction, which is probably because he knew this was coming.
Yeah, he was like, this is already out.
Yeah.
No. That's what happens when they think something's been released.
So this is basically saying, what is the activity that a user is taking on my server by clicks? Yeah. Like really specific. I think it's by clicks.
Yeah.
Because when we scroll through the list that they showed on stage, like some of those things are things I'm really interested in. Now, part of my job is data fluency, adoption, enablement, right?
Yeah.
This will really help understand how our visitors are being used. Yeah. And what we need to focus on, and what is it the actions someone's taking, or is it that no one takes actions on visitors?
Yeah.
Right. So really interesting. And I'm hoping it also is the navigation. Like, how do they get into my server? Yeah. How do you then navigate around, and how do you leave?
Yeah. So. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to be good.
Yeah.
Right, DBT Connector. This I did not miss. So very simple. This has been talked around a lot of time. I think we saw a bit of it with the announcement with DBT towards the end of last year. This was sort of stated as an example of something that would come out. Essentially, being able to connect to a data source based off a DBT model. Very straightforward. However, I think this would behave more like a cube because you wouldn't be able to change the model inside of Tableau.
Powered by Tableau Bridge.
That's what I didn't get. That was a bit of subtle. What does that mean?
I don't know.
Why do you need Tableau Bridge? DBT is a cloud product. Why would you be needing Tableau Bridge in Tableau Cloud to connect to DBT? Like, what local machine are you going to use to access? I didn't understand that.
That threw me.
I don't understand why you'd need Tableau. Like, most cloud customers that I'm familiar with DBT have DBT Enterprise. Maybe the context here is you might have DBT Core. So therefore you do need Tableau
What about
Bridge.
DBT Next?
Oh, I have no idea what that is. Oh, sorry. Sorry, that flew right over my head. Oh my word! Apologies. So no, DBT Core is essentially the let's say the open source version of DBT. So maybe if you have DBT Core, that works. But they were showing a demo of DBT Cloud. So I have no idea. Right.
Ask your local dev.
Publish data sources in Tableau Semantics. So this is the idea
With zero
of being able to take a publish data source from Tableau Cloud into Data Cloud through to Tableau Semantics. That's a step they kind of missed. Data Cloud is needed to get this to work with zero copy. I think that's just basically a connector between Data Cloud and
necessary
and Tableau Cloud. And then this was a fan favorite, Tableau in Google Sheets and Tableau in Google Slides through Google Workspace Tableau
Connector
plugin.
Plugin.
Very cool. Very nice.
I think that's what I've got to say on it. It's like cool.
The Google Sheets thing is nice because I think sometimes it speaks to this idea that some organizations are Google optimized, and what people want to do is to be able to take something to Google Sheets to then share that with the business. What I hope it does is it updates the asset as well. So if people keep coming into the Google Sheets, well, not even just that, like anytime someone goes to it, it updates the data. Right, and you see an updated data. With the slide, it's going to have to do that. That was what they said. You don't have to keep updating. I'm
going to introduce you to a dev I spoke to yesterday on this. Yeah.
You think it's a one-time copy, like a one-time connection?
I think it's a fork.
To refresh, you have to.
So, like, if you think about this data source, I think it's actually
it's a fork off the data source.
It's a fork off it, and you don't put it back in.
But what about getting new updates from the data source?
Yeah, that happens.
Yeah,
because it's a fork, right? You have the source, and then you're forking off, and then adding in any.
Right. But the minute you change it, it's no longer representing the main data source, and you can't change it again.
Or you basically have like a log of what you've added.
Fine. Interesting. I think there's a lot of detail there we have to go through. Good. Then we went into DBT Labs, devs on stage. Man,
DBT
it's been a long day.
Next.
It's been a long day. It's only midday. So the first devs on stage labs we saw was something called authoring extension. So this is essentially an extension that allows developers to build charts on your behalf. So basically, when you hear extension, it's a bit confusing because it can either mean it's something to do with charts or it's something to do with data sources. In this case, it's to do with charts. You've had Viz extensions, which allows you to build Vizes, but authoring extensions allow you to control the way Tableau builds sheets, and it does it for you. It drives the interface. So
it's dragging and dropping.
We saw a demo from various companies: Bistri, Lad Data Viz, Infotopics, and Information Lab, and all four of them basically showed a demo of things you could do. Just to give an idea, one was using OpenAI to build charts and do some exploratory data analysis. The Data Viz was doing a layout generator to basically generate a nice themed style. The other one is Infotopics had an automated localization as well as
translating.
As translated, and then I think Infolab had the what was the word?
Automated
walkthroughs with pop-ups and videos, and I think that's a very nice touch. Very, very good customer-focused ideas.
And I think the money shot was when each extension talked to each other.
Correct. When they were all in the one thing and one thing updated, the other extension, which shows you the modularity. The extension has a role to play, and they all feed into that big picture, right?
And this is where, like, I think we talked yesterday of like the decomposition of Tableau and like how that's the most powerful way forward, right? Which is like all these APIs, we're just let people go build it. Go outside, build cool stuff, and bring it back in, right? Like, it shouldn't be you waiting for a company to go do it. You go do it, and then we'll take the best bits and learn from what you're doing, right? Like, the community is the innovator here.
Yeah, exactly.
Same thing as before. It will likely get paywalled, but the good stuff, right?
All right, two more. Tableau Pulse Research Agent. So this is, the best way to describe this is the reasoning that we've seen in AI models, but applied to Tableau Pulse, where you could ask it a question and it went off to the internet, got some data sources, brought that up, did some analysis. And it was basically trying to get some external context to the world to explain activity internal to the organization. And this is just the reasoning capability. Now, the thing about this is that it didn't kind of arrive at conclusion, it arrived at some possible places for you to go, but you then had to go to the story.
It's a sidecar, right? Like I always see LLMs and like GPT models as like, it's like Jarvis in Iron Man. Well, let's continue Marvel, right? It's Jarvis in Iron Man helping you like get to the answer, and doing the bits that you don't know, so you can like. It's helping you think. I think it's such an important part of knowledge work. is the space to think and consider and let your brain create the neural pathways.
Yeah.
If you're just getting answers, it creates brain rot.
Yeah, exactly. I'd have to say this feature was a little bit, it was hard to get the value of it because I think a lot of the audience for Pulse is not actually that audience. It's sort of the executive who's getting this, the leadership and management who are getting this thing. So not really big for data analysts, but I think a worthwhile capability for the people who are using that feature daily. And then the very last one is Tableau Sketch. Why are you laughing?
I got this so wrong.
Right.
So I spent.
So for context, sorry, I have to explain the context here. So when they mentioned the name Tableau Sketch, Ravi, literally no joke, grabbed his hands like, "Here we go," and I went over to him and said, "Ravi, calm down. It's not what you think." Go for it.
And I've spent the last year complaining about the names of things. This is why names matter.
Yeah.
Because people will jump to conclusions that it's a fantastic new wireframing tool that allow you to sketch a dashboard together, and then it will apply the template. Oh, that's magical.
Yeah. And the only reason I had that context is because I'd seen a preview of those on stage, so I knew what it was going to be. But to be fair, I would have thought exactly the same thing. If you'd said Tableau Sketch or Tableau anything with drawing, what I would have assumed is take my Excalibur and turn it into an actual finished visualization.
Excalibur.com
probably
is
quite likely with some of the other authoring capabilities. So it's a bit of a stretch actually to combine these two. But what this feature was instead was the ability to look at a data set, very noisy data set, and draw the shape of the data that you wanted to find to do some very specific analysis. And you were able to describe it just using a line chart and some annotations. Exactly. And that was used to basically go and find the data. And it worked. It showed the sort of general shape being found across multiple things. And it had some variance to it. It was finding things with like a reasonable spread. So it wasn't just like
across
doing
multiple marks.
Doing a best fit. It really was a good visual way to go and find stuff. It's also, I think, a really interesting interface element because that's really ultimately what it was. Imagine browsing your data but describing what you're looking for visually and being able to take that visual analysis, not just to analysis, but to asking questions as well, right?
I think my problem with it's a very cool piece, and it's a really good use of, again, agents.
Yeah.
An agent is doing this for you. This is why we care about agents. But in practice, how often will I ever do this?
And that's the problem. You're not going to sort of go all the way into the chat window, open it up, ask the questions, and then see the pop-up that says sketch it, then you pop it out, and then it's a window. It's so buried. It needed to be like a
wireframing tool.
No, it just needed to be a persistent modal that's sitting in the top right corner, a bit like Show Me. You click it, it opens, you draw the shape of what you want, and out it goes, right?
Maybe it lives in explained data.
Yeah, maybe.
That's a good place for it to live.
But
the stuff you can do with it.
I do agree. If it was that, but instead you drew the chart and you said sales, profit, draw a line, bim, 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 or you draw a scatter plot, bim, bim, bim.
Imagine.
Actual feature there.
I would have stormed the stage.
It would take wireframing to another level. It would really sort of validate that as a process.
I was saying this yesterday to someone, like in 2016, Adobe did a keynote where they showed an incredible dashboarding tool.
Yeah, I know the tool you're talking about. I actually emailed the product manager for that tool. He didn't reply to me, unfortunately, being like, can I please play with this? I think it was supposed to be for Adobe Illustrator.
It's infographic creator, but it's data-driven infographics, and it was sick.
And you could animate it as well, so it's very cool. But they never shipped it, unfortunately. I messaged the product manager, never got back to me. So I'm certain they never shipped it. But really cool kind of innovation. So that was it.
This is, again, that's the thing I'd love to see. Again, you come out of devs on stage and you're like, awesome, more.
Exactly. Now, the big question is, when will these get shipped? It's all good showing stuff. My hunch,
none of these things had release dates.
Correct. And my finger in the air is about a third of these we might see over the course of the next year. I think about half of these we might never see. I genuinely do.
I think you'll see everything, but the runway they've got is May next year when TC is.
Do you know why I don't think we'll see all of it?
Go on.
Because Tableau next.
Yeah.
And I just do not see them. Even all of these demos were great. The difference between getting them from where they are behind the scenes builds to being shipped and stable in the product.
But what if they're done?
Interesting. Then why did we see dates? Last year we saw dates, we didn't this year. So
it's okay. It's okay. I think that the thing I'll say is, you can. We spoke to Southard after the keynote, right?
After the keynote, yeah.
Yeah. So when we were speaking to Ryan and Southard, like we gave the feedback of like yesterday was the clearest vision.
Yeah.
And it was very clear the direction of travel.
Yeah.
And Southard made a really good point, which was last year you saw the vision.
Yeah.
This year you see the
You need to see the execution.
Execution,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what we're seeing.
Yeah.
I truly.
We're starting to see it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure we've seen it all, and I think you have to reserve judgment when you see. It's like a football team. You can have a great striker, but if the whole team isn't good, you're not going to the game, right?
Yeah.
And so what we've seen are the strikers, the midfield. Now we need to see the rest of the team.
How do we gel over 38 games?
Exactly. And that we've not seen. So,
but
reserve judgment.
But based on what we said about the MCU multiverse, we're converging. Like we've got agents doing all sorts between desktop, server, prep, next. It's everywhere.
Hold that thought. We're going to stop this video. We're going to explain this whole MCU concept very quickly, and we're going to do that as a separate video because I do think it needs its own space, and it's maybe definitely a shorter thing, not linked to devs on stage. But just to close this off, devs on stage out of 10,
7 or 8.
All right, 7 or 8. I would have said 7.5, but we're pretty much aligned.
Basically,
I thought it was good. Definitely needed after yesterday's keynote where we didn't see much of Tableau Core. So a really good touch.
Awesome.
All right. Nice.
Let's go.
Stop it there. Cheers.